Welcome to the Marketing Spotlight, where we share the career journeys of Michigan State University marketing alumni. I'm your host, Katie Sadler, and today with us, we have Pete Pendergast. Pete is the Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Sealand Chemical Company. Pete graduated from MSU with a major in marketing, and then went on to obtain an MBA from DePaul University. He was also one of the founding members of the Eli Broad College of Business Marketing Leadership Advisory Board. Pete, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Marketing Spotlight.
You're welcome, Katie. It's a pleasure to be here. Always happy to talk with some fellow Spartans about my career and my engagement with Michigan State. So thanks for inviting me, and looking forward to talking to you and looking forward to sharing with students at Michigan State some of the highlights of my career.
Pete, we really appreciate you joining us. Can you just start by giving us maybe an overview of your career path and what has led you to your current role?
Yeah, so my current role is VP of Sales and Marketing, Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing for a small specialty chemical company. It's kind of interesting path how I got here. I went to Michigan State. Be honest with you, when I went there, I didn't really even know what I wanted to study. At the time, I was thinking hotel and restaurant management because I had worked at a ski resort for a winter before I went to college, and thought, well, that'd be cool to work in an industry like that. I took a few HRI classes. At least that's what it was called back when I went to Michigan State in the late 80s. I think they may have changed the name of the school by now, but I realized I was going to be working on weekends and holidays a lot. And I thought, that's not really what I want to do. I took some business classes. I had an introductory marketing course that many of you may know Dr. Harrell. He's been there many years, and he kind of inspired me to think about sales and marketing as a career. And I think the reason it resonated with me is because I've always been, it's a kind of a cliche, a people person, but I've always been very diverse in the people that I engage with and hung out with in high school, and got along with everybody. So I thought, I'm good at building relationships and developing relationships with people. The sales and marketing sounds like an interesting course for me. So I started studying sales and marketing at Michigan State in the business school, and I had a presenter come in. It was a gentleman that worked for Dow Chemical at the time, who was a sales director, and talked to me about the job that the salespeople did at Dow. And I thought, wow, that sounds exactly what I want to do. Build relationships with people, help solve problems. And it really resonated with me and my personalities. I ended up pursuing a career at Dow. So I got a job with Dow right out of Michigan State in sales. And really, this was business to business sales. And that's what always interested me more than the consumer side of business. I wanted to work directly with customers to help solve problems and develop solutions to the problems they were having in their manufacturing plants or other facilities. So took a job with Dow in sales and always wanted to get into marketing. And I worked my way up through the company. I worked for Dow for 31 years before I came to work for Sealand. So had a long career at Dow, started out in sales in Chicago, lived in Chicago for 5 years, selling industrial chemicals to a variety of different industries. And it was fun. I called on people like Tootsie Roll. I called on Baxter Healthcare. I called on paper manufacturing companies. I called on dry cleaners that were using our products to do dry cleaning products. So I got a good bit of exposure to a lot of industries. After about 5 years in sales, I was promoted to a role of market research analyst in our headquarters building up in Midland, Michigan. And so I worked in marketing research for a couple of years, and then I spent about 10 years in marketing, various roles in marketing management for industrial chemicals, coating materials, plastics materials. Spent some time in specialty chemicals that were used in pharmaceuticals and lubricants and chemical manufacturing processes. So those were all marketing type roles, and developing marketing strategy, marketing plans for those business on a global basis. In some cases, I was fortunate to be able to travel all over the world in that role, working with clients throughout the world on different applications and solutions for them. And that was 11 or 12 years ago, one of my colleagues, I ran into him in an airport, and he asked me if I would be interested in a sales leadership job in another one of our business units. I had always loved sales. My favorite part about the side of my marketing job was the interaction I had with customers. So this was an opportunity for me to get back into really full-time engagement with customers and salespeople. And so I took that role in our building materials business. Many of you may be familiar with the products called Styrofoam or Great Stuff, which are insulating materials that Dow produced and sold into the building materials market. So I led the Western U.S. sales team for those products. I was fortunate to get transferred to Denver, Colorado as part of that role, I've always been a skier and a lover of the mountains. I'm from Michigan. I grew up in the Detroit area in Romeo, Michigan, but I always wanted to get west to the mountains. So that took me to Denver, where I still live today. I spent 5 years as a sales leader in the building materials business. And then I took a role about 6 years ago in Dow's oil and gas business. So I went to work out of Houston, Worked virtually from my home, but had an office in Houston and managed our North American sales team for our oil and gas business for about 5 years. Really an interesting market to work in the oil and gas industry. I used to give presentations at Michigan State, some of the marketing classes on all the applications that chemicals go into. And many of them are derived from oil and gas, or at least oil and petroleum. Really interesting market to be involved with, where we supply products to just about every industry you can think of. And the oil and gas industry participates in many different markets. So anyway, after 31 years working for Dow, I decided to go do something different. I've always had the interest in working for a smaller company and really going somewhere where Dow is a huge company. If you're familiar with them, 35,000 employees, global company, really great experience, lots of exposure to different markets and things like that. But I really wanted to go somewhere where I could get my arms around the entire entity and have an impact and an influence on the whole company. And I wasn't able to do that at Dow. I mean, had I moved up a little higher in the company, perhaps I could have, but I chose to go work for a smaller company. And so I'm less than 3 months into this role as Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Sealand Chemical. And it's been a great experience so far. That we have about 55 employees. It's about $120 million in sales, where Dow was, $30-40 billion in sales. So much smaller company, but really fun to get my arms around the whole entity and get to be part of the leadership team to drive the strategy for the entire company in the direction.
Pete, you were talking about starting in sales, moving into marketing, and then going back into sales. Mm-hmm. What was it about sales that made you want to go back into that space?
Good question, because it's really a key part of kind of my learnings as I went through my career. I love sales. I always enjoyed working with customers, directly engaging with people to help solve problems and, find solutions that can meet their needs. And so in marketing, I was working on the strategy side of it. And while I enjoyed it, my favorite part of my marketing job was always when I'd go make trips and visit with customers, or go work at a trade show and engage with our salespeople and our customers in meetings and talking about problems they might be having. A good example, Katie, I know you're with Whirlpool. I was working on a project to develop a new installation system. So a good example of the type of work we would meet with the people on the design team that are developing the next generation of a refrigerator, let's see, at Whirlpool. And they're trying to figure out how to make the walls thinner so you could increase the capacity of the refrigerator, but still keep the insulating properties. So we were developing some new technology that would allow the refrigerator manufacturers to make the walls thinner, keep the same insulation value and energy efficiency of the refrigerator, but give you more capacity on the inside. So obviously for consumers, you want to put as much in your fridge as you can. This is especially true. We were working on international development in places like Japan and China and Europe. The refrigerators are smaller there. They don't have as big a footprint in some of the houses and apartments. So we were trying to help Whirlpool figure out how to increase the inside of the refrigerator without increasing the exterior dimensions. And so I found that I really love that kind of engagement and problem solving with customers. And marketing was a little more high level, right? The strategy, how do we message those people? How do we confirm what our value proposition is? What do we do digitally to bring customers to our website and get them interested? And while that was fun, I really enjoyed the engagement at the tactical level in developing solutions and negotiating with customers. And so I kind of realized that retroactively. I realized after 10, 12 years in marketing that I really did, once I got into sales leadership and really working directly with customers and engaging with salespeople and customers, that my real passion was in that customer side of it. And I think I always knew it, but I kind of did marketing for 10 years before I admitted to myself that I'd rather be out in front of with the team, with customers. So, that's one of the key learnings I had. And I would recommend to anybody, as you're working in your business, you find what you really like about your role. Try to find a way to do that more. For me, it was getting back out and engaging with customers more and being on the front lines with our customers.
Okay, that's really insightful. And it sounds like in sales at Dow, there's a little bit of like a product development aspect in terms of working with your businesses in order to develop the right solutions. So that seems like a really unique aspect of Dow.
Absolutely. And probably not just Dow, but I think business to business sales in general. So, one of the things that when I first started at Michigan State, and I think there's this perception of sales being, encyclopedia salesperson or a vacuum cleaner salesperson, right? Where you've got a product and you're trying to go out and push it on your customer. And business to business world is just not like that. And selling in the business to business environment is a very professional job that's all about developing relationships, engaging with clients and helping them solve problems, right? And bringing them solutions. And a lot of that in this day and age is around energy efficiency, sustainability, life cycle analysis of products, finding environmentally friendly products, biodegradable products. Such an important part of our culture these days that we really work hard on that and at Sealand and I did at Dow Chemical and trying to find solutions for customers. The business to business sales environment It's a solution sales approach. It's not a pushing a product on someone. It's a engaging with clients and understanding their needs, working with their research and development people to try to define new solutions that can save them money or improve their efficiency or improve the performance of their product. There's so many different variables that come into play. That's what roles are like in business to business sales, as opposed to maybe a consumer marketing where you might be just, you have a product and you're pushing it and trying to get people to buy it, right?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of students have a very specific idea of what job in sales or a job in marketing might entail. Have you ever faced a role in your career that surprised you in terms of what your background in marketing or sales would enable you to do?
Most of it was kind of what I expected. The one example I would say is, especially in a big company, was getting into marketing research. So anybody who's gone in the business school usually take some sort of a class on statistics or marketing research. It's usually a required curriculum. And I thought when I went to work in that role that I'd be doing some of that myself. But what I found is, and this is true with a lot of big companies, is that you hire consultants to do that. So you know what you want, what kind of information you want, but typically you don't actually go develop it yourself. You hire a consultant that will go and pull that data together and present it to you. And so there's a lot of careers working for those consultants, right? Where, you may go do that work yourself. But that's what surprised me as a marketing research analyst at the company, is I was really facilitating relationships with consultants, not necessarily doing the research myself. I set the parameters of what we wanted, but someone else actually went out and did the legwork and did the interviews and conducted the research. So that's probably the one that maybe surprised me the most.
And Pete, as a senior vice president, like what does your day look like normally?
As is the case with most sales and marketing jobs, there's not a typical day. There's a lot of diversity in what you do. And that's one of the things that I always loved about it. But I have a lot of meetings. I do have a lot of strategic meetings. For example, this morning I had a 2-hour meeting with a vendor that's going to be working on an e-commerce platform for us. So we're going to integrate with this company to help us. Today, we can't take orders online on our website for the company I work for today. It's a small company, and we don't have the IT capabilities to do that ourselves. So we're going to outsource that work to somebody else. They'll set up a portal that'll integrate with our ERP system to help take orders and facilitate transactions. I was working with them on how we set that up. Next week, I'm going to be gone all week at a trade show in Florida. So it's an industry association that we're a key supplier to in the lubricants industry. So my entire week next week, I'll be in Florida at a resort in Orlando, and I have meetings with customers, suppliers every day to talk about new opportunities, new products we might sell for them. And then there are seminars that are going on during that conference talking about trends in the industry, economic conditions, things like that. So, it's not unusual for folks in our field to spend a few days every month or two at a trade show, engaging with customers, again, talking about our business together, reviewing our sales results, exploring opportunities for growth with those customers. I meet regularly with all the salespeople on my team. So I have 18 people that report to me once a month. I have a 1-hour one-on-one meeting with those people where I will sit down and go through, what are the opportunities you're working on in the pipeline? What are your business results to date? What are any issues with your customers that you need help on? How can I help you? How do we get resources to come in and support you with those customers? So, I meet regularly with the people on my team to help develop the strategy and make sure we're selling the maximum amount of products to our customers. So, it's a mix of travel and virtual meetings. I do work virtually. I work from my home in Colorado, and the company I work for is in Cleveland. And so I do get up there at least once a month, and we have executive team meetings where we talk about strategy for the business and review business results. But I also spend a lot of time in the field, going out with salespeople, making calls on customers, and talking about opportunities we're working on, again, as I've explained before. So that's, in general, what I do, but there's no 2 days that are the same. And, one of the nice perks, next Friday, there's a golf outing for this industry association. So next Friday afternoon, I'll be playing golf with a couple customers, having dinner with them after that, and flying home on Saturday so I can play golf on Friday. So my schedule's never the same every week.
Pete, it sounds like your schedule and your job is very dynamic, but also very strategic. How do you continue to flex up your strategic muscles in order to be the best senior VP that you can?
That's a good question, because I get involved in a lot of tactical things every day, right? There's a lot of just running the business kind of stuff that you have to take care of. And if it's an issue with a customer, or a shortage of product supply, or maybe I need to hire a new salesperson, or I need to do a performance review with someone. So there's a lot of tactical things, but I really have to force myself sometimes to step back and think strategically. I'll often block time on my calendar, a couple hours every couple of weeks, just to do some of that strategic thought. Think about, what are some of the market segments we need to do a better job of expanding into, and how can I better utilize the resources we have in place in my sales team to bring in the most business we can. At the end of the day, we're trying to grow our sales and grow our business. So I really find you do have to force that strategic thinking time because you have a tendency to get caught up in the day-to-day transactional things. But we also have leadership team meetings where we talk a lot strategically. So there are intentional meetings that our CEO sets up on the calendar where we just talk about our growth strategy and build out very specific plans on what do we need to do to go explore new markets, to if we need to get marketing research work done, or we need to do VOC work with customers to understand, how we should position in this market. We take time to do that at a senior leadership level to ensure that we're giving that the attention that it deserves, because it can be difficult when you're caught up in the day-to-day transactional things to think strategically.
Yeah, and Pete, it sounds like what you're saying is you really have to spend the time investing in strategic thinking in order to drive great strategy. And I would say the same probably applies to people, that you have to spend the time investing in people, as you said, with the one-on-ones you have with employees in order to drive great work. So how do you continue to motivate your employees and keep them excited about what they're working on?
Yeah, I think a key part of it is I work with each individual on an employee development plan. So make sure to stop and take time and talk about, okay, what are you doing today? And what do you want to do next? What 3 or 5 years from now, what do you hope to be doing for the company? How do you think your role will change? So it's important to talk with people about their aspirations and make sure that I understand what they want to do in the future and how they can achieve that. What do they need to build into their training program, or what experiences they need to get to that next level? I think the other thing is just continuing to share the higher level mission of the company and the results of how we're doing from a growth perspective. What's interesting about Sealand Chemical, where I'm working now, it's what's called an ESOP, which is an employee-owned company. It's a kind of a government company structure that gives tax advantages to the employer. But what's unique about it is every employee gets ownership in the company. And it's a very good way to motivate people and keep everybody kind of focused on the same objective, which is the success of our company and our enterprise. Public companies you trade stock and employees can get stock in the company, but sometimes it's harder to connect directly with that than when you're actually owners of the company together. And that ownership can generate significant value at the end of your career if you get there. So again, motivating people by making sure that they understand they've got a stake in the game and their success hinges on success of the company. And, we do a pretty good job, I think, of making sure we reinforce that connection for people and they see how their contributions impact the bottom line in the company, how their improvement in margins and growth of the business can help reap the rewards financially themselves when they're ready to retire, or leave the company and sell out their share of the company, whatever they choose to do. But it's a great retention tool too. People tend to stick around when they've got a vested interest in the company.
It sounds like at Sealand, you guys do a lot of investing in your people and a lot of bringing them along in order to your point, make them feel like they're really bought into the company and into the jobs that they're doing and that they're making an impact. What is it that you enjoy the most about managing teams?
I guess the personal interaction and seeing people succeed and accomplish their goals and objectives and providing insight, helping them, given the 30 years of experience I've had in sales and marketing, giving them some insights and coaching that helps them deliver more business, earn more business, gain more share with our customers, and see that kind of success. And so really that's, one of the things I enjoy the most is coaching and mentoring individuals and working with them to help them develop tools to be more successful. That's the fun part for me.
I love that, Pete. And I'm going to pivot a little bit. Can you tell me what your best highlight of your career has been so far?
I have to say it's doing what I'm doing now. It took 30 years to get there, but I really think I've found a great spot to kind of finish my career in working with a smaller company and helping them grow. And, I developed a lot of experience and expertise and learned from some high quality people in my career at Dow. Now I'm taking that to this new company and finding ways to help them grow. So, the other piece was I was really proud to get the award. In 2011, I won the Marketing Leadership Advisory Board Marketing Excellence Award. And that was back when I was really doing marketing work. It was a nice recognition for me and the work I had done and the engagement I had with Michigan State. So that's relevant to everyone there. Those two would be the highlights, I guess.
That's fantastic. Pete, do you have any advice that you would want to give students about how they can start their career, how to be most successful in their career?
Yeah, I think two things. First one is find an industry or something you're passionate about. You can do marketing, sales, accounting, finance in any industry, right? So think about something that you have a passion for. And I'm not the best example of that. So I'll admit that right up front. I mean, I think my last chemistry class was in high school and I really didn't like it. And I went to work for a chemical company, so which is kind of odd, but for me, it was the B2B space that I was interested in. I wanted to work in a business to business kind of environment where it's really about relationships and problem solving. But I often think back on my career and think, man, if I went to do that, I'm a big skier and I ride mountain bikes and things like that. I kind of think about, well, maybe I should have worked harder to get a job in marketing with a ski company or a mountain bike company or REI or an outdoor gear company because I'm kind of an outdoors person. So that's one thing I would say is, you get one chance to start your career, try to go start it in an industry or something that you're passionate about, because I think you'll be more engaged and more passionate about it. So that's one. And then the other one, I talked about earlier, the fact that I knew that I really loved the sales side of things, but I toiled in marketing for about 10 years, but there were many nights where I was like, man, I'm not really having that much fun doing it, but I do it. And I did a decent job at it, but my passion was really out with customers in sales. So I would just tell you, as you're going through your career, if you realize that you start to think, hey, I'm in this job in accounting, let's say, but I really would rather be in corporate finance, or I'd really rather be HR maybe, or something like that. You engage with people in another function. Well, go find a way to do it and give it a try. Don't wait 20 years, give it a try and expand your repertoire and do some different things. Those are probably my 2 words of advice.
Hey, I love the idea of like taking risks, kind of what you were talking about there, right? Of do something that you're passionate about, go after it. And if it doesn't work out, you can always do something else, but make sure that you're loving what you're doing every day, because that's what you're spending your life doing.
There's an old adage that says, do you live to work or work to live? And I like to think I'd rather work to live. I work so I can live the life I want. So, that's the way I look at it, and find something you're passionate about, so that work becomes kind of part of your life and you really enjoy what you're doing. That's your focus is really on what you do after work, right? And the time on the weekends and things like that. And so if you can make work fun, and you work to work so you can live and do the things you like to do.
Hey, do you have any networking advice for our students?
Yeah, I would just say be open to meeting with anyone and everyone. I know it's easy to say. You never know where the next opportunity is going to come from. And I would just take advantage of the opportunities that are there. I try to teach my kids to do that. I have 2 kids that are in college, and I've encouraged them to get involved with the Career Center and get involved when companies are coming in to give presentations and on campus. I know that's difficult in COVID, but hopefully we get back to normal there. You're doing it virtually probably, and don't just go listen, but go introduce yourself to the people there that are talking and just ask some questions, and then be open to different opportunities and talk to as many people as you can and ask them questions. Most people in the business world, you'll find, are happy to talk to you and help you learn from their experiences. And they're interested in talking to you and helping you explore other opportunities. So I would say that. And then the other thing is just keep that network alive. One of the things I always try to do, if I have a contact that's involved in a certain industry or maybe lives in a certain town, and I remember I'm in that town on a trip, just reach out and, say hi, get together for a coffee or something like that. So don't just network and make contacts, but keep those contacts alive. If you see something that may be of interest for someone that you spoke with, they're interested in horse racing or fishing or something like that, send them an article once in a while and just, to cultivate that network. Don't just let it get stagnant, but stay in touch with the people that develop relationships with, because you just never know when that might come back to help you. And a great example of that, this company that I work for now, Sealand Chemical, the reason I got the job here and the reason the opportunity came to me was because of a colleague of mine that I worked with at Dow 20 years ago, works for a supplier of Sealand. I've stayed in touch with him for years, and he was talking to the CEO of Sealand, who said they were looking for a new VP of sales and marketing, and he recommended me. He knew I was interested and might be a good fit for the job. And I've always kept a relationship with the guy, and one thing led to another, and I ended up with the job. So if I hadn't kept that relationship with him, which was 10 or 15 years ago, he may not have remembered me, right? Keep that network alive and stay in touch with the people you network with over time.
Absolutely. And you never know who's going to be there to help you open a door. So it's so important to put your best foot forward every day and then nurture those relationships and to your point, keep them open.
Yeah, and don't burn bridges. You may leave a company or something, and maybe it's not under the best circumstances or what have you, but be calling on them as a customer or working with them as a colleague again someday. So, be respectful with people, even if maybe you didn't get along, but you never know when those people might be in that position to offer a recommendation for you or something in the future.
Absolutely. Well, Pete, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciated having you here on the Marketing Spotlight.
It was my pleasure. And as I said at the beginning, great to engage with fellow Spartans. Go green. If you're ever out in Colorado, please feel free to look me up, find me on LinkedIn and connect with me. I'm happy to connect with anyone and would be happy to exchange an email or a text or something with you. If you have questions about careers, I'm more than happy to engage with my fellow Spartans if I can be of any assistance.
Great, Pete. Well, thank you so much. For listeners interested in connecting with Pete, as he said, feel free to connect with him right on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Go green.
Go White.